Welcome everybody. It's nice to see you again or see you for the first time if you're just now joining us. My name is Sharon Chaden Glass. I'm an instructional media designer for Sinclair Community College. I have not always done that. I actually started my professional career as an ESL instructor, which means English as a second language in higher education, mostly in Ohio. And at some point, I decided I needed to change fields. I've talked about that before. And I have gotten into instructional design. I started that career in September 2019. So right before the pandemic really broke out, which was just the first time in my entire life that I had good timing on something. And it has been a very rewarding switch. And so I'm very happy to bring all of you together to talk about that journey. This originally started as a presentation that I gave at TESOL 2020, and there was so much interest that I just started doing these monthly Zoom meetings just because I like to help out. So today we have 3 guest speakers, and I will introduce them in the order that they will be speaking. First, we have Kristy Louden. Is it Louden, Kristy? Yeah. And then we'll have Melanie Anderson, and finally Stephanie Trujillo. Stephanie, did I say your name right?
Trujillo, almost.
Trujillo. Okay. And so I'm going to be quiet and I'll spotlight each of those speakers, and then they'll have about 5 minutes, maybe a little bit more, to talk about their journey into instructional design. And when they're done, then I'll pass it off to the next person. So Kristy, go ahead and unmute yourself and we will hear what you have to say.
Hey everybody, I'm excited to be here, so thank you. So I am Kristy, obviously. I'm a senior learning leader at Eduscape, which is a small educational PD edtech company for them. So up until December 18th, I was a high school English teacher and an instructional coach for 2 years in there also. This journey for me started theoretically 5 years ago when I realized, okay, I know I don't want to retire from the classroom. I love teaching. I just didn't like all the other things that went with teaching. And so it was just a thought in my head that I wasn't really doing anything about. And at the time, school was, and I went into an administrator's office and she said, "Are you okay?" And I just started bawling and I was like, "Oh, sorry, my internet's kind of iffy. Am I still good?" Okay. And I was just bawling and okay, sorry. And she kind of talked me through what's going on. And that's kind of when I realized teaching was not what I wanted to do forever. So that started me thinking about instructional coaching. I proposed that position at my school and they let me do it. And then I'm not going to go into the, but let's just say the end goal there did not pan out. And so last year around November, a local university, I'm in Birmingham, Alabama, and a local university had an instructional design position, and that title had come up in some of my like interest research. So I was like, wow, whatever, I'm going to apply. That was good in that it was a catalyst, but I can't even imagine what my resume looked like at that point. And so I never heard back from them. I joined a course that I found with Allie Parrish about becoming an instructional designer. And thankfully the timing, like you were just saying in the intro, was perfect. Right before the pandemic hit, I started a course and then I had a lot of time on my hands. So I was able to take that course, start networking. I got really heavily involved in LinkedIn, meeting people, and that networking really opened doors. So that's when I started. I met a guy, I literally just met random people. A guy reached out after I posted about getting rejection emails. He reached out and said, "Hey, let's just have a chat one day." So we hopped on a call and talked, and he actually ended up getting me a contracting job with Instructure, Canvas, if you're more familiar with it from that term. So that just, little opportunities like that. I got an opportunity to train teachers in Hawaii, not obviously over the internet, with Allie Parrish, who ran the course that I took. If you're interested in instructional, they're on LinkedIn. It's a nonprofit that got started in March or April last year with the goal of creating DEI resources that weren't behind a paywall. And then it was also matching experienced instructional designer, UX, UI, all kinds of VO, all those letters, with newbies like me. And so we were able to pair up with mentors, get experience. And that was a huge boost to my resume and then finally, my last opportunity came from actually a former student who is maybe 25. I don't know. He's way more put together than I will literally ever be. He started his own business and for finances, and he wanted an education side to help like young people, especially get a hold on their finances. So he called me with his idea and I said, this is what I want to do, right? And he was like, yeah, that's why I'm calling you. And so I actually designed, like, he pays me to design courses for him and help him build courses. So that was really cool. And all that to say, I applied for probably 100 jobs between February and November. Eduscape called me in September and let me contract with them for a project. They were awesome. They are former teachers. And he said, how do you feel about leaving the classroom? And I said, I feel guilty because it's the middle of the semester and I'm unsure. And he said, well, what would the ideal situation be? And I said, the ideal situation would be I get to try it out and test it and see if I like the company and if the company likes me before I quit my very stable, very secure. So I contracted with them on a project, and I loved it. I built an e-learning course, but from scratch. I did storyboarding all the way through development. And then when I finished the project, he offered me the job and he let me finish the semester. So yeah, because I think it was early November. I can't remember the timeline, but and I was feeling really like stressed and anxious about having to quit in the middle, I would have, to be clear, but I didn't really want to. And he said, you know what, you can work on another project, and and loving it. I don't know. I think that's everything.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I can definitely speak to when you were talking about just feeling complete burnout teaching, Kristy, because that was where I found myself at after 13 years. I was like, I cannot imagine going through it. And I remember, like, I was reading somewhere on LinkedIn recently about someone wondering if they would miss having summers off. And I immediately jumped in. I was like, I do not miss having summers off because I no longer need 5 weeks just to recover from what I've been through for the past year. Because I've been doing this since September 2019. So it's been, it'll be 2 years this coming September. And I have not missed not having my summer off because I actually am a more relaxed person on a day-to-day basis. I'm not constantly under the gun. So
I definitely feel I'm sleeping better. I don't wake up in the middle of the night thinking about weird scenarios at school.
Yeah. What have I forgotten?
Yeah, like I don't 20 more school days until President's Day. And then 40 days until spring break. Even when I liked to teach, I did that. But now there's nothing to count down to, but also I don't mind. Like all of a sudden on Thursday night, I'll say to my husband, oh, it's Thursday. Cool, tomorrow's Friday. And he just looks at me and I'm like, I had no idea. This is great. Also, side note, I'm working from home. So it's kind of weird and I miss human interaction and moving. But it does make things like I am just.
All right, I'm going to get on, let's see, we're moving on to Melanie. All right, Melanie. Melanie, whenever you're ready.
So hi, I'm Melanie. I went through, I guess, let me just kind of start where I am right now. I'm at Oracle. One of the things that that I think that is really important to understand is just kind of some of the names of the different jobs. So the job that I'm doing right now is called an enablement specialist, and it's in sales. And so there are a lot of different directions that you can go, when you transition out of the classroom. Since I've been out, I've done a lot of different jobs. I've done HR analyst, I've done a sales training coordinator, I've done a curriculum specialist, I've done now as an enablement specialist. And this is enabling salespeople to learn how to do their job. So you are training the salespeople how to do their job in sales enablement. And just a little hint, salespeople make more than most other jobs. So because of that, the sales training people make more than if you were to be in HR in a department. So if you're trying to transition out, keep that in mind when you're looking at jobs and comparing jobs. Just because you're in HR doing training, that might pay a little bit differently than if you go into sales enablement or if you go into a sales training kind of role. So just kind of think about that when you're kind of looking at different offers and things that you're getting. The environments are different too. So you kind of have to look at yourself and say, am I more of a, people person? Do I like to be around other people? Am I more of a friendly, emotional kind of person? Am I more of a data set, black and white kind of person? Because those are different too. If you're more of that friendly, fun, feely, touchy kind of person, an HR department might be better for you. If you're more of like a maybe numbers driven, data driven kind of person, the sales department might be more for you. So just kind of be thinking about some of the differences in where you're trying to go, because training is all over the place at corporate, and you can be in different departments doing the same thing, but kind of in a different way. So I started out, I was had a degree in natural resources, environmental education. I thought I was going to be a park interpreter or park naturalist for my job. And not too long after I did my internship, I met a boy, you know how that goes, and ended up moving to another state and went to work at a corporation there doing something completely different. While I was there, I met a science teacher who was there working for the summer, and she told me about alternative education. I ended up going that route, became a science teacher, did science teaching for about, 5 years or so. Then I decided I wanted to become an administrator. I went into that route, did that certification program through Region 13 here in Texas, and became an administrator. I had several different positions that I did while I was an administrator. I was an academic dean for a couple of years. I was an assistant principal for 3 years. Then I became a principal, and after a year doing that, I was like, no, this is not what I thought I signed up for. The stress level, like you just talked about, I remember sitting at my desk crying and telling my assistant superintendent, I'm not sure that this is the job for me. I was in a school where, we had to turn things around. And I honestly didn't do the research that I needed to do before I took the position, or I probably wouldn't have taken the position. But, it was a challenge. I turned it around, but I can tell you it was a very, very rough year. And so at the end of the year, I had to ask myself some real questions and say, is this what you really want to do for the rest of your life? Because, crying at your desk is not fun. And who wants to live like this? And, you're putting in tons and tons of hours. I just didn't really feel like I was getting back out what I was putting in. And so I just kept asking myself, are these returns, when you look at the business aspect, that ROI, is this what I'm getting on my life? And I said, this is not it. And so I really started looking at that point and trying to start transitioning. And I will say, as you're looking at yourself and you're looking at how things are going to time out, one of the biggest concerns for me, was feeling guilty about leaving in the middle of the semester or leaving in the middle of the year. And I just have to say to you, put yourself first, because I went through a transition where I left my career, I left my husband, I left my life, I got a new job, I got a new house, I changed everything. And maybe if I'd have changed one thing first, the other things might not have went downhill, but it needed to all go. And so for me, it was a big decision for me to make that choice. One of the big things, I know I'm out of time, but I just want to cover real quick. Some things that are really important are the timing. Like I said, put yourself first, network with people, figure out who the people are that you need to know, use LinkedIn, browse for jobs, look at those definitions, look at those different job titles, Google everything, try to figure out what they're talking about. Look at reciprocal entities. So if you go to work for a city, that city might have reciprocal retirement. So for us, like I have TRS, Teacher Retirement System. I went to work for a city for a little while. They had Texas Municipal Retirement System, and they were reciprocal. So sometimes that's kind of a deal breaker for you, but think about those kind of situations. Understand your value. Know that you know a lot more than you think you do. You've been doing training for years, so just don't call it that. And just, explore contract jobs. I know Kristy talked about contracts. That was my first experience. I had an opportunity to take a contract position out of education. It was a wonderful, wonderful experience because I got to learn the language. I got to have a little bit of experience, and they were very gentle with me. They used those kid gloves with me. They knew that, it was something new for me. So I would just welcome you to try something new, and, don't worry about failing. You just get out there and try it.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that, you just have to try. And I mean, I had that same feeling of, I don't have the skill set for this. Oh, you so do. We just call it something else. There's
Yes.
just different words. That's what you were saying, Melanie, about the vocabulary. Just learn what the vocabulary is that they want to hear and then use that language. It's really
Instructional design is content development and is the same thing as curriculum. You're building a curriculum.
Yeah, that's what it is. All right, so I am looking for Stephanie. There's Stephanie. All right,
Hi.
Stephanie. Spotlight is on you.
Great. I'm gonna set my timer too. Sorry, I also am using my personal, so usually I have a blurry background, but yes, it's a cabin behind me today.
Looks good.
So I want to just first say hi. I see a lot of American Language Institute alums on the call, especially hi to Shoko, who's I think in Japan right now. That's really exciting. We were all in the same teaching training program, which I guess is where I'll just kind of start. I got my degree in TESOL at SF State and did a really great teaching program that just, I swear, has really got me to where I am today. It just drilled in so many good habits and qualities about teaching that are totally transferable to what I do now. So I guess I'll say that too. So I'm an instructional design consultant at a firm called Mosaic. And so I work on with clients to develop training for utilities companies, basically. And I got there by way of user experience design. And the way I got there was feeling really, really fed up with teaching. I really resonate with a lot of things that the former speakers had just said. And I'm not afraid to, ashamed to say I was really financially motivated. At the time when I decided to start looking into a career change, I was living in Spain. I was making probably 12,000 euros a year. Whew, that was rough. So I was really, really financially motivated. And I was looking for anything different. And so I, having come from the Bay Area, reached out and just asked people, what can I do in tech? Because I knew like so many people were getting jobs in tech. I was like, hey, what can I do? And somebody said user experience design might be interesting for you. And so I was like, great, let me look into what is that, first of all. And I went whole hog. I went looking at boot camps to take for UX design. I started studying visual design. I started to reach out to UX friends, and I really thought that was where I was going next. And I was really excited about it. I was developing a UX portfolio and just trying to take as many classes as I could. I decided that the change would be easier to do back in California. So I moved back from Spain to California. And I just really, at the time, was still kind of applying for ESL teaching jobs. And I'll never forget, I had a moment where I was called for an interview for a full-time, like tenure track position at a community college, and was preparing for the interview. for this like $54,000 a year job, right? Which is like fine, but it's just, you know, like I just felt in my bones like I want to thrive, not just survive. Especially in California, that's really not a lot to live on. And I felt sick as I was preparing for this interview, and I canceled. I canceled with like 2 hours notice. I was like, I'm so sorry, I am ill physically. But then I just really knew, I was like, okay, there's something else. And then lo and behold, because I had told everyone in my life that I was career changing, I said, Grandma, I'm changing careers. Mom, Dad, everybody, I'm changing careers. This is happening. Tell everybody you know. Because I did that, 2 of my friends were meeting up for coffee. One of them had just transitioned to instructional design. I was talking to the other friend who knew that I was career changing. That friend reached out to me and said, hey, do you want to, are you interested in instructional design? I just got hired at this company. I can put you in touch with the recruiter. I said, what is instructional design? And yes. So in a way, I got really, really lucky with my timing too, in the fact that I only applied for 1 instructional design job. That's not to say I applied for, you know, dozens of UX jobs that I didn't ever get called back for. But the one that I did get was because I had told everybody that I knew that I was looking for work, not just LinkedIn, but just, you know, regular old people. And that came back and helped me out a lot. So a couple of things I wanted to just say, tell everyone you know, create a portfolio, because that's just going to get your brain in the way of telling stories of your work. You don't have to show it, but if you create a portfolio, it helps you kind of say, okay, well, what's the beginning of the story of this design? What's the middle? How did it turn out? Get coaching for interviewing, even if it's just a friend, and compensate them, you know, do some kind of trade. But coaching really definitely helps to practice. And when you practice interviewing, definitely practice with emotion. Like I find that, yeah, you can prepare your responses, but if you prepare, okay, and this part, I'm going to be really excited. I don't know. It's just, it makes it a lot more fun when you do the interview. At this part, I'm going to like say something cheeky. I don't know. But I think that, yeah, just showing your personality, because it, you know, as teachers, that's one of the things that we've kind of cultivated is connecting with people. And so when you show that in your interview, you're going to nail it. So yeah, so thanks for having me.
Thank you, Stephanie. That was your advice about tell everyone you know is actually really awesome, because that's how I got a contract that I've been working since the pandemic started. Was I had a friend who knew that I was a new instructional designer, and she was like, hey, you do that stuff with like online learning. Do you want to talk to my sister? They need somebody. I'm like, I got a job. I'm fine. But then they talked to me and I was like, oh, I can do that. That's not a lot of work. How much are you gonna pay me? And I was like, oh my God, like, cool. You know, this is just something extra on the side. So when Kristy was talking about that, those contract positions can really be confidence building, I completely agree. And it's just one more thing that you can add to your tool belt for when you want to look for another job.
I want to say something real quick about the contract job too.
Sure.
Just, you know, there are 2 different kinds of contract jobs. So just be sure you understand what you're agreeing to, because some are ones that you're going to be paying your own taxes and you're on your own.
Mm-hmm.
And some are a contractor where you work for a company and they take out all of your taxes for you and you earn benefits. And to me, that's the best choice when you're first transitioning, because you're used to that stability. And you need that stability. But, you know, if you want to just go on out there, be a freelancer, you can do that too. But just be sure that you know what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah.
And research the company that is hiring you. Because I've heard, you know, I've had good experiences, but I've also heard bad experiences that people have had. So just be careful.
Excellent. All right. Welcome back, everybody. We had a great conversation out here in the main room, and I'm sure that you guys did too. Before I open it up for whole group Q&A, I wanted to mention the next Zoom networking session that we're going to do, and that's going to be on Tuesday, March 2nd from 7 to 8. So very similar to this month. And I'm also going to put into the chat the feedback form. If you want to give me feedback, let me know what you think. If I can copy things, there we go. There we go. You can give me that feedback and then I can have that. So I'm going to open it up for whole group Q&A, and as I see you, raise your hand or whatever, or you can just open your mic and talk and then I'll spotlight you.
Question.
Yep, go ahead. Do you want to say your name or?
Maredi,
Okay.
or Mare is fine.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted us to talk a little bit more about translating our skills from, the teaching CV to a resume. What are some of those keywords? Because I know, for example, right now, some of them is like not talking about students, talk about learners, but are there other tips that we have in terms of how do you translate teaching experience to instructional design experience? Hi, Kristy. Yes, we work together in a program.
Do any of my speakers want to take that one? Kristy?
I'll start. I'm going to turn my video off to help with the whole.
Sure, sure.
One thing that kind of helped me was using JobScan. You run the job description and your resume through it, and it points out words that you don't have. So I would create my resume. So my very first resume, which was no good, but after that I got better. But so it was for instructional design. I would run that one through JobScan with the job description. I would see how well it matched, make a copy of it, and then change words, and then run it through again until I got it better. But yeah, I avoided things like teacher and student as much as possible and said educator, learner. It took a while, but it helped eventually.
I would say too, just doing that, like you said, that authentic look at job descriptions and then asking yourself or asking somebody else, what does this really mean? If you look at it and you're like, I have no clue what in the world they're asking me to do, ask somebody that has been in, in that industry, or see if you can connect with somebody on LinkedIn that's in that industry. Ask them what that means, and then you probably will go, oh, that's something I've done, and then you can use that skill on your resume. And I think really just turning your resume into what they're asking for in those words by using those same words. I mean, I know that sounds super simple, but really it is. And part of it's just pride. Like, you're looking at your resume and you're like, but this is what I call it. Well, don't call it that because it doesn't translate to what they're using. So make it what they want. It's all about what they want. In your head what it is.
Yeah, just to piggyback off that, I think start from scratch. Like, I know it's tempting to be like, let me just try to shoehorn what I already have and just change a couple things. But if you think of it as a design challenge and you think of it as like your client is asking for XYZ, it's more fun of a process. It's really not fun, but you can kind of I know Kristen Anthony, I don't know if this has gone around the LinkedIn group yet, but Kristen Anthony has, or she had, I'm not sure if it's still live, portfolio writing course, and she talks a lot about you want to tailor, you're showing the suit before it's tailored. You're just showing that you have all of the skills, and then an employer can come look at it and tailor and imagine how it's going to suit their needs. She has some really good resources on how to do that. Kristen Anthony is her name.
I think that Christine had a question.
Yes. I was just wondering, when we're actively looking for jobs, how much in advance should we be applying? I know in academia, we all kind of assume all jobs start in August, but for corporate ID or even higher ID, what would kind of be the timeline we should expect before the start date that we want?
2 weeks. I mean, seriously, I mean, you have to be ready. If you're really talking about doing this, put your resume together, start looking for jobs, and just tell yourself, if the right thing comes open, I have to be ready to just say go, because it's not going to be the right perfect time.
And I think that that's,
Don't do it while we're still in the middle of our teaching job.
yeah. I mean,
It could be.
I've seen a couple, or there's one person, I can't remember who it is in particular. I think it might have been Erica Zimmer, who was like, it was like the beginning of the semester and she was like, peace guys. But that, I mean, I know what you're thinking. You're like, oh, my students, they'll be fine.
And there are other people that want jobs right now. I'm telling you, like my niece is looking for a teaching job right now. There are people out there that will take your place and they'll do a wonderful job.
Yeah.
So don't sweat it.
Yeah. There was something my husband has told me over the years. He's like, I know you don't want to believe this, but anyone can be replaced. And he's like, that's not sad. You should find comfort in that. That if this is not for you anymore, there will be somebody that will do it. And I'm like, he was right. Damn it, but he was right. Who else has a question?
I have a question, and
Okay.
I think it has to do more with, if I'm gonna switch jobs, it's gonna be for something that I actually like and where I can be fulfilled, right? Like you have all been saying. But like for some of the jobs, it doesn't seem super interesting. Like one of the jobs is like, oh, make trainings for safety or know how to send an email. I'm just afraid that I won't find that interesting, or is it just because I get to choose what I teach right now, so that's great.
Yeah, right.
It doesn't have to be a lifetime thing. I'd say get the skills, and if you don't like it, move on to something else.
That is great advice, Melanie. I mean, because honestly, like, if that's the first offer you get, do it. Get it on your resume and keep looking. I mean, you're not going to love everything that comes through, but you don't have to stay there forever. You're not married to it, right, Sarah?
No.
Well, yeah, and we are in this mentality as teachers that you do things on an annual basis. Like if I commit, I'm there for a year at least. You're not doing that in a corporate world. If you don't like it, you can quit tomorrow.
Yep.
Seriously. And that's the beauty. Again, that's the beauty of a contract job.
Yeah. Stephanie, what do you want to say?
No, totally. I, as someone who creates instruction for electrical engineers, y'all, electrical engineers. Here's what designers in my team, we agreed that we're going to experience this job and this work. I do love my company, but just to talk about this topic is I consider it my grad school. Like these people are paying me, I'm learning, and I'm getting paid like really well. It really helped me shift that whole, like, do I give an F about electrical engineering? Like, I don't even know what it is. But I do think that, just kind of like doing whatever mental gymnastics you can to just be like, okay, this is my grad school. I don't have to like every class I take, but I know that there's a purpose for this, for my being here. And that's to learn and soak everything up. And then you'll find things that you do like I like my coworkers, I like working on a team, I like reaching out and doing stuff like this, So yeah, but that being said, of course I want to like move on to do some, like my dream is to work as a learning experience designer for the Chopra Center. They're just like making meditation classes. Hell yeah. But right now I'm talking about like grounding rods in soil resistivity. So.
Someone's got to do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Someone's got to do it. I think we probably have time for maybe one more question. Okay, I'm calling it. We have reached the end, I think. So I want to thank my speakers, Kristy and Stephanie and Melanie, for coming. Thanks, guys, for being here. And I hope that you, if you find this helpful, please do come back. March 2nd, I put the registration link within our agenda. And I hope to see you guys all next month, and good luck on those job searches. And if you get a job or you get an interview, let me know. I would be so happy to know that this has been helpful on your journey. Have a great night, everybody.
Thank you.